Welcome to the second episode of an interview with series. And today we have Danny DeVito joining us. Welcome, Danny.
Nigel, thanks for having me on your show.
You're welcome. And tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're running as a Republican.
Sure. Well, as you mentioned, my name is Danny DeVito, and I'm running for state representative in the 45th Legislative District. I grew up in Pennsylvania. I was the oldest of five, grew up in a large family. And I'm running as a Republican because I believe that the Republican Party is the party that supports American values. You look at the Democrats right now, they've gone so far radical left that I think it is time for Republicans to start stepping up here in Allegheny County to put an end to the radical leftism of the Democrats and ensure that our values are well represented in Harrisburg.
Okay. Now, one of the issues that you believe in your district is the natural gas industry. Can you explain why that is important to your district?
The natural gas industry and really the energy industry in general provides so many jobs to people in my district. Not only people working directly for natural gas companies, but also everything that's built up around it. So we have the people who are doing the drilling, who are doing the exploration, but we also have the people who are responsible for transportation. And not only that, people who own restaurants benefit from this. People in other industries benefit from it because when more people are in the area, when there's a lot of activity, everyone needs the same services. So it benefits everybody, when we have natural gas. We have a mayor of Pittsburgh who said that he's declaring war on the natural gas industry, not just in his city limits, but in all of southwestern Pennsylvania. We have a governor who wants to take the proceeds from natural gas and send them to a totally different part of the state. We have a lieutenant governor who's a socialist and radical environmentalist who wants to stop us from taking advantage of these resources. The incumbent in my district is a member of the same party as them. She helps prop up their party establishment, and I want to replace her because I think that the people in my district need somebody who's a staunch advocate, not just to protect the natural gas industry, but to even expand it.
Okay. Now, what do you mean when you say you want to represent the working class values of Western Pennsylvania?
Western Pennsylvania is known for having working class people, hardworking people who went to work, who supported their families, who were loyal to our country. And I think that is what it really comes down to. Working class people who love America, who go to church, who work hard, and they have strong family values. So I want to take those values and I want to represent them in Harrisburg. And I want to stand up against those who want to come in and destroy the values that made this region of our state so great, who want to come in and tell us how to live our lives. I want to tell the people, the social engineers, the cultural Marxists who want to change everything about our society, I want to tell them no, and the people of my district want to tell them no, and I'm going to be the voice for them to do that in Harrisburg.
Okay. Now, you mentioned property tax in your campaign. Can you explain where you stand on property tax?
Property taxes are very hard on seniors. They are assessed and they must be paid in full. And for somebody on a fixed income, that proves to be a problem. There's currently House Bill 76, which is trying to address this issue through sales tax and other things. I want to be a part of that conversation in Harrisburg to help represent the people of my district and help them have some property tax relief. The reason for this is when somebody owns a home, and especially when they've paid off their entire mortgage, they should own that home outright. The government should not be able to come in and take their property, take their home, take everything that worked for their entire life. If the government's able to do that because you haven't paid your property taxes, you don't really own your home. You're essentially renting from the government. By eliminating property taxes, or at least getting a reduction on them, the best that we can, we're telling people you own your home and you're going to be safe in your home. The government's not going to take it from you.
Okay, so moving on. What is your position on pro-life or pro-choice?
I consider myself to be 100% pro-life. I believe that life begins at conception. I think that children who are still in the womb, who have not yet been born, are entitled to the same legal protections as anybody else. I support a heartbeat bill in Pennsylvania, one recently passed in Ohio, And I think that that is a strong step towards ensuring that the unborn children are protected. And it has implications even beyond the state, because if this bill is challenged, then we'll be able to then challenge Roe v. Wade, hopefully get Roe versus Wade overturned, and while at the same time protecting as many children as possible right here in Pennsylvania. So I consider myself to be 100% pro-life.
Okay, so I like to ask quite a few different issues. Now, the Second Amendment's always a hot issue.
Sure.
Where do you stand on the Second Amendment? And I know you're an FOAC member, so I know you're involved with that.
Sure. So I am a member of FOAC, and I believe that the Second Amendment is so fundamental to protecting all the freedoms, all of our liberty here in this country. It's the bulwark against tyranny, as I like to say, because it prevents the government from coming in and taking away other rights. I mean, if you look at communist nations, they took away the right to bear arms, and then what came next? They took away free speech rights. They took away freedom of religion. And I'll be in the state legislature, and the Pennsylvania Constitution actually has very strong words against infringing on our right to bear arms. It says that our right to bear arms in defense of the state shall not be questioned. So the tyranny prevention is number one. But number two, there's practical implications as well day to day. We have the right to self-defense. We have the right to defend ourselves, and especially to defend our homes and our loved ones. If somebody breaks into your home, the police, even if they're 5 minutes away, 5 minutes is too long. A tragedy can happen within that space of time. And you need to be able to have the right to defend your family, your wife, your daughter. Or even if your wife is home alone, should she be able to defend herself, or should she have to wait for the police to get there? And I just believe that the risk is too great. Seconds matter. And we have the right to self-defense. So not only will I protect our right to bear arms, but I am actually for repealing any of the current restrictions that are currently in place. Okay.
Moving on to education. How can you help to expand access to good education for working and middle-class families?
I believe that every single child in my district is entitled to a good education, and I want to expand access to quality education. And I think that the best way to do that is through school vouchers. So if there's a student who performs high academically, has no discipline issues, and would otherwise gain admission to, an incredible private school, but the only thing holding them back is that they can't afford it, then their parents should be able to take their tax dollars and direct it towards that school and pay for their tuition. This is something that, it doesn't just affect the very poor. There's middle-class families who would not otherwise be able to afford, a Catholic education, for example. So by allowing the parents to choose the school and expanding where their children can get an education, we're opening up possibilities that do not exist currently. And it might incentivize public school districts to increase the quality. The marketplace always increases competitiveness.
So do you believe in homeschooling?
Homeschoolers, I believe, should also be allowed to take their tax funds and direct it into the homeschooling program of their choice and educate their children at home. I believe parents know what's best for their kids, and if somebody chooses to homeschool, then we should absolutely support them in that.
Okay. Now, you talk about cultural values and the importance of the family. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Sure. I believe that the family is the fundamental building block of society, not the state, not the government. There's current radical proposals in some places that say that children actually belong more to the state than to the family. So I want to defend the family. I believe that when we have strong families, that we have strong society. When we have intact families, we have intact societies. And how do we do this? Well, it goes back to what I said earlier. We have to support the natural gas industry and other jobs creators so people can support their family. And we have to resist those who are trying to come in and change our values to take away our religion. We need to defend those traditional values. And I think that that's what I mean when I talk about defending family and traditional values.
Okay. Just want to ask you if you have any comments regarding healthcare.
I mean, healthcare is a very complicated issue because there's so many different factors that go into it. There's federal regulations, there's state regulations, there's the insurance industry, and then most importantly, there's the relationship between doctor and patient, which is really the most important, or should be. But there's things that we can do at the state level to help increase people's health. We can raise awareness about various diseases. For example, Lyme disease. Pennsylvania is currently #1 in the country for Lyme disease. Okay. We can increase awareness. We can help lift some restrictions on doctors to treat patients as they believe the patient should be treated. We can increase their medical freedom. We can increase, a patient's right to engage in various treatments at the state level. And, again, the federal government still has a role to play, perhaps more than they should. But there's definitely things we can do to help at the state level around awareness and around medical freedom.
Okay. And always get a variety of questions on this. So,
sure.
What views do you have regarding veterans?
When somebody serves our country in the military, when somebody serves, especially overseas, when they come back, we need to take care of them to the best of our ability. And again, the federal government has a large role to play in that, but there's things that we can do at the state level to help veterans. I mean, when, we have 22 veteran suicides a day. One suicide is too much. 22 is astronomical. And it's unacceptable, and it has to be addressed. So I will look at different things that we could do in the State House to help our veterans. And what my office will do, I'm a big believer in constituent services. So I want to designate somebody in the office to help veterans, navigate the system, to navigate the healthcare system, to navigate the educational system. Even if it's not a state program, we can have somebody in constituent services dedicated to helping people. And I think that that's what I can do most directly for our veterans.
Okay, and the final question. Just want to touch on the opioid crisis, and if you have any views or comments on that in Pennsylvania particularly.
The opioid crisis is something that has affected many of us on a personal level. We all know a friend or a family member, or even if not directly, somebody who has a friend or family member who has been affected by the opioid crisis, which involves heroin, but it also involves prescription pill abuse. And there's different things that we can do to help attack this. I think that it's two-headed. Number one, we need strong law enforcement. We need law and order, and we need to equip our law enforcement professionals to be able to attack the dealers, the people bringing this poison into our community from the heroin level with fentanyl. We have to have strict penalties for it, and we have to really push for the prosecution, the strong prosecution, I think, of drug dealers. The second facet of that is the healthcare side of it. How can we address those who might have fallen into abusing this? And I mean, I'm a big supporter of drug treatment courts. There's different things that we can do to help people get back on track. And I think that, if there's legislation that comes up, I'll take a strong look and see whether I think it's really going to support people who are suffering from this. And, again, it goes back to constituent services. I always want to have my office be open to people who, might need help finding treatment. And I think having a robust constituent services office will help people individually and directly.
Okay, I just want to go back actually to a question we mentioned about veterans now.
Sure.
Veterans, I think there's 22 suicides per day as the reported figures. Do you have any comments on that at all?
Sure. So as I said, 22 suicides a day is just much too high, and it involves mental health. Do people have access to mental health services? Do veterans have access to mental health services? If the federal government isn't meeting their responsibility, what can we do at the state level to help our Pennsylvania veterans? And I think that, programs geared towards helping those suffering from mental health issues, that's something that I think is worth spending money on. I think that that's a social program that people can get behind. And I think that overall that will reduce the burden and most importantly help the people that most need help.
Yeah, okay. Now, if our viewers want to get in touch with you, or if they want to donate to your campaign, how do they get in touch with you?
Number one, I encourage you to email me, DannyDeVitoPA@gmail.com. You can feel free to send a message to that account. I check it personally. We also have a website, DannyDeVitoPA.com. That's probably the best resource for finding out more about my platform and for learning about me. And we'll have contact information on there. On Facebook, we have Danny DeVito for State Representative. You could find that Facebook.com/DannyDeVitoPA. And our Twitter handle and Instagram handle are the same, at Danny DeVito PA. And you can also find me on there. But again, it's very easy. Danny DeVito PA is our name across all platforms. And I encourage you to contact me. And if you're able to, donate to my campaign so that I can go to Harrisburg and fight for those conservative values that the working class people of Western Pennsylvania really support.
Right. Well, I want to thank you for coming in today, Danny.
I really appreciate you having me on the program.
You're welcome.
Thank you,
very
Nigel.
much. Thank you.